I've been playing with words recently, and you might find on another one of these short videos me using the word is and does and exploring the quality of is as isness and the quality of does as doesness. And if you haven't already switched off by now and you're staying with me, I'm going to talk about the word awayness. So we have the word away and we have the word awayness. And I'm reflecting that I'm here away at the moment on a writing retreat and feel privileged and lucky enough to be able to do that. But what I discovered about myself as a writer is I don't easily write at home. And so I go away from my home into town. And I've been one of those, you might be one of them, cafe dwellers to go and write, often on a laptop, sometimes still in a notebook. And the need to be away from perhaps a familiar place at home, or the need to be away because writing and working and getting your head down and thinking and overthinking might not be places I associate with home. Whereas I know other people, and some of these people discovered this particularly during lockdown and the COVID crisis, is that home was a place they had to work, and home wasn't always an ideal place, but they learned to do it. Others had already been working from home. Other people, if they're lucky enough to have a garden, go and sit out in the garden and work. But even going to sit in the garden is a sense of awayness. And people who were privileged enough to have a bigger home were able to go away from, say, where the family were socialising by going away into a spare room or an office room. But other people didn't have that luxury, and in small flats with 3 or 4 children had no awayness at all. And when we were allowed to actually go out again properly, at least to go to the park in Brighton where I live, to go down to the seafront, people really appreciated the awayness to go and gather their thoughts. Now, of course, you might be one of the people again who is lucky enough to be able to afford to fly away from even the UK where I live, to go on holiday somewhere, and we've got the expression to get away from it all. And there's a negative connotation to that about getting away from something you don't want to be at. But there's the positive side of getting away just for something new, to come home enriched with whatever that awayness was. And I certainly have that experience that when I go away from familiarity, I go away from routine, and I don't, maybe I respect the home by not working at home. Maybe I take what are, a range of thoughts and ideas and stuff, I take it away from the house. So awayness has got the positive thing of pastures new, of difference, of diversity, of exploration, but also it's got the slightly negative thing of wanting to find something better, of not acknowledging the value and the possibility of being where you are. So I accept all of that. And what I just draw upon is the notion then of that quality of being away, of awayness, can be a feeling that I'm away from something familiar, I'm away from home harbour. And you can miss home too. Awayness can give you a feeling of wanting to get back to that place too. That's when you've been away for too long, or you're away and that wasn't your choice. So the quality of awayness is quite a diverse thing. It's quite complicated and it varies from person to person, but it's also quite archetypal. And so here, as I'm away on my writing retreat, I'm personally feeling that that's a good thing for me. It's ability of getting away from the complexities of life at home and to create some space here. And there is definitely a feeling of difference and newness. I'm not normally in a garden like this, right in the centre of London, as I happen to be, with the mix of traffic contrasting and mixing with the senses, the sounds of nature. There's actually a little waterfall nearby in this garden that I'm sitting in. I can hear the water tinkling, and it fires me up. It gives me a feeling of creativity. I get some of my most original ideas when I'm away from familiarity. Perhaps there isn't a temptation to repeat things. Perhaps there isn't a subconscious memory, and so often I'll go to places and thoughts that are to do with the familiarity and the repetition of a place, and we get away to have that difference, that newness. And so I think it's important. I think awareness is a quality. Now, you can physically go away like I'm doing, but it's also possible to get away from your usual thinking. And that literally can involve just getting up from your desk. But it can involve sitting at the same desk and simply allowing your thoughts to wander, allowing your thoughts to travel. And that requires imagination to go somewhere different, and some people have got that coming to them more easily than others, and perhaps interestingly you sometimes get that capacity by getting away from it all physically as well. But I certainly know people, certainly know writers who don't like going away, who like to stay where they are and do some of their best writing in the one room in their house that they've always written in. So we're all different. Now I'm bringing that right now to bear on the world of AI, and actually the earlier part of the development of that, of computers, of staring at screens, of not getting away from the screen, with some of the figures that we're staring at screens for 8 or 9 hours a day in some cases, and we'll check our screens literally hundreds of times per day, often not even being aware that we're doing that. And so the more we're fixated on one thing, the more we stay in one place, we lose that quality of awareness. And unless it absolutely suits you, for a lot of people, that will be to the detriment of your creativity, possibly your motivation, and possibly your originality, where getting away creates the possibility for experiencing new things around you, and that newness fires up originality. That's the danger of AI. The danger of AI is that in some ways you get awareness from something like ChatGPT, you get awareness from searching online. In fact, you can search for anything anywhere in the world. But if it is true that physically getting away also is necessary to that, the danger of only being in one place and never moving away could be that there is a sort of degeneration of that originality and of that newness. And we can see that with people stuck on laptops, used to be typewriters, might have even been paper and pen, for hours and hours and hours. And we've certainly got evidence, for example, in the post-COVID era, that certain younger people, older people, people that had a difficult time through COVID, become less reluctant even now to travel. We have trouble in the university sector of encouraging students to get away from their bedrooms and get away from their places of comfort, understandably if they're a bit traumatized by it, but getting away into the classroom, literally, coming away from the comfort of a bedroom with a TV and a laptop and a phone and your comforts around you. Because awareness then starts to feel a bit traumatic and uncomfortable and even painful. And yet stick with the idea that awareness is a really important and potentially beneficial quality. Those flights of fancy then that used to involve even a trip to the library, rifling around a second-hand bookshop and finding that book, going for a walk in the park just to get some different thoughts, getting away from it all, by going interrailing, that's in Europe, or whatever country you're in, going to the country next door if that's possible. And there's a certain element of privilege around it, but even where you are, anywhere in the world, of just taking your feet somewhere different from where you are, that if that quality of awareness is good for us, is necessary to unblock creative flow, the danger of only visiting that sense of travel, that sense of inquiry through a search engine, or through prompting AI to do the travelling for you and to bring back what you need back to that place you're sitting in. So you essentially subcontract out or delegate awareness to a machine, which often can be faster than any travel that you will do in terms of getting information, will often come back possibly even with better ideas than you to finish that story, to end that inquiry, to explore ideas or to get advice, is you no longer take a trip anywhere other than through the screen. And it could be that physically you lose the sense of awareness that comes from physically moving, but also that you could lose the sense of awareness in your imagination, where you might have struggled with something through conversation with somebody else, through trying to find the right books, through just letting your feet take you to somewhere different and finding yourself frowning, or I'm actually smiling a bit at this beautiful sunset here in this city with the noise of sirens and the noise of birdsong. That for me, without that awareness, I couldn't write the books I write. And I've done lots of experiments of just trying to work in partnership with generative AI to enjoy that inquiry. But I have a sense that the movement was not as much in me after a while. After a couple of hours, there is little movement. There is a sense of travel, but there's a sense that my own imagination is staying behind, that my own creativity is parked there in front of the screen. Now, it can be different. If you learn the creativity, for example, of prompting AI really well, you can get a real sense of going somewhere. And if you can drive that conversation, you can absolutely say, oh, the output from this conversation is really interesting. And I feel I went with it. I feel I took AI with me. But when I talk to people, and particularly as a social science researcher, and at this stage it's anecdotal, there's still the lack of physical movement. And I encourage people that are on AI a lot to change venue. And I do that in Brighton. If I sit in a cafe and write something, once that's over, at one point I kind of called it sullied cafe syndrome. I need to find another space to sit down and start something new. If I finish writing a chapter or even reading a chapter, I like to get up, even to change table for that next cup of tea. And I notice in me, and not everyone will find the same experience, but I notice that sense of awareness is an essential part of my creativity, my creative motivation, and my creative flow. I wonder what it's like for you.